So round 6 of the Sinquefield Cup saw 4 draws and then this beauty right here. Now usually I don't spoil the game, but I am going to start by just kind of saying the storyline of what happened because, to be fair, there weren't that many ups and downs. It was quite straightforward. Essentially, Nepo with the white side made one big blunder and then got punished immediately and in extraordinarily beautiful style with 4 brilliancies according to the chess.com algorithm. So let's jump straight in. It was the dragon, and you'd expect for it to be the dragon given what I said. And it was this quick bishop c4, bishop b3, f3. Eventually the queen came to d2, so we have some sort of Yugoslav attack, some sort of main line, although it wasn't directly the main line. And long castles. Okay, so far white played the normal moves. This is what you do. You want to go for the quick g4, h4, kingside attack. And black as well has played very logically. They're obviously going for the queenside attack. And I will add one more thing before we really get going. If you're wondering, if you're thinking about potentially using the dragon, I think this game here is going to boost your desire to do so, because this is precisely what the dragon is about. One of the properties of the dragon is that given the potential of this bishop here, of the queen and rook, of even this bishop that often finds itself on a better diagonal on e6, given all of the potential in black's position, white needs to be very precise. And it matters the tempo here, right? If you play in some positions h4 versus g4, or if you rush to play g4, or sometimes if you play it too slowly, then that could already take away your entire advantage, and in some cases just lose, and we'll see that momentarily. So white obviously wants to attack on the king side, but they have to be extremely precise in how they do so, and they need to go for the punch at the right moments, right? So playing it with the right time, playing the right moves, making sure your pieces are in the right squares. It's a very tricky situation for white, and they have to always be very careful. And again, this game proves that, because, okay, everything is natural so far, but what you'll slowly see is that very quickly, the position begins to improve for black. So bishop to e6 here. Okay, aren't you worried about knight takes e6? Well, not so much, because actually this pawn formation is very solid. I actually made a masterclass on the dragon where we kind of talk about precisely this bishop e6 idea. So if you want more information about some of the theory and some of the ideas behind that, then definitely check that out. But okay, essentially, bishop e6, you get compensation if they take, and in fact, the kingside attack is definitely also strong without the knight here, because often the knight needs to come back to be a defender, and that's exactly what we saw here. So knight b3, queen a6, bishop d4. The idea, of course, is to trade the passive bishop for the very active bishop on g7, or the bishop that rather has just more potential. And here, after rook to c8, Nepo makes the mistake. And what could be more natural than engaging in the attack that you want? So g5, right? You want to start pushing the pawns, and exactly what Nepo is hoping for is knight h5. And after, bishop takes g7, okay, I mean, black's attack is still actually coming, but white is doing fine here. They can, maybe consider, I don't know, a move like queen e3 or something. They're probably holding on here, and they at some point will also want to maybe generate some space and some initiative on the king side. And it's not clear exactly how black is going to break through on the queen side. So this is what Nepo was going for, trading those bishops. It would have been a strategically beneficial decision, but unfortunately, it's a blunder, and it allows for a brilliancy after a brilliancy after a brilliancy, a combination that is quite typical of the dragon. Knight takes e4. You always need to watch out for this as white, and you always want to be looking for this as black. And unfortunately, I mean, white is just totally busted here. I mean, the engine already considers this position totally losing. So let's understand why. Well, okay, we'll look at this through the main line. After f takes e4, actually, I'll quickly show what happens after knight takes. Of course, the idea is simply rook takes d4, right? And here, if you take with the knight, okay, this allows a mate in 2. This is why the bishop on e6 is so powerful. And you can see here all the pieces coming to life for black, right? The knight has a purpose, giving itself up, and the bishops open up. The rook is clearly a very dangerous piece, and the queen delivers that final touch. Okay, so this is what happens in this line. Now, I should mention, the queen can just slide away, can't she? Well, she can, but then black is not even down material. They regain the piece on d4, and the attack continues after a move like rook a4, for example. Okay, so knight takes, that's what happens after knight takes, but f takes was played in the game, maybe a little bit more resilient, but to be fair, it's not much, because bishop takes d4, and this was the idea all along, and the point is simply that if this knight takes the bishop, then you are opening up this diagonal one piece more, and therefore you allow for spectacular brilliancy. We'll see this in the main line. I mean, if you don't take the piece back here, then the entire position collapses anyways, right? The two bishops are just way too powerful, paired with the two rooks, paired with the queen, paired with the fact that white has no counterplay at all. Look at this position. The entire position comes to life. Rook takes c3. Where can you get another opening which can lead to such damage, some fire on the board so early on? Okay, the idea is clear. If you take the rook, then queen a2 is the same mate that we just saw. There's nothing much. I mean, knight takes c6 maybe in this position, but okay, after rook takes c2, it doesn't offer much resistance either. Note that, this endgame, okay, we have two rooks for the queen. Isn't that enough? No, the king is just way too exposed, and we'll take the knight, but first we'll actually make a point out of that funny king. So, okay, knight takes c6 doesn't work, but after rook takes c3, Jan tried a3, just one last try, trying to, of course, separate the queen from the a2 square. So what does Fabi do? He just reconnects the queen with that very juicy a2 square, and queen a2 is obviously a threat, so b3. But now queen to c5, you're hitting a3. Nepo decides it's in best interest to simply ignore that pawn and try to, I guess, consolidate on the c2 pawn, but it's not much. Okay, h4 comes, but a decade too late, and unfortunately here after rook c5, the entire position is just losing. And remarkably, white is not even up that much material. And yeah, the position collapses in front of their eyes. Rook to f1 was played. Okay, I mean, at this point, you just have to find a move as white and force black to finish you off, and bishop b3, the fourth and final brilliancy, does precisely that. And the idea is it doesn't matter which order you take, we're going to go like this. This is what's going to happen, and simply rook c4, rook a4 is coming. Good game. So, quite a fascinating attack. Again, this is, I think, the cover story of the dragon, right? If someone wants to sell you on this opening, this is what it is, because you can see the potential here. Okay, the pieces look well placed, but they're not exactly active yet. But slowly you activate them. The bishop finds itself on e6. The rooks get to the c file. And with such activity, again, white has to be so careful. So g5, so natural. Blunders, knight takes c4. What should have white done instead? There's a few suggestions. Queen g5 is the engine's top pick. And you might wonder, okay, wait, doesn't this fall victim to the same idea? Well, no. And precisely the idea is that after pawn takes, the rook now defends this bishop. So after rook takes, if we're going down the same line, or sorry, after bishop takes, if we're going down the same line, rook takes can capture back, and white is totally fine here. The sacrifice doesn't work because of knight takes e6. So there you have it, guys, a short video for a pretty short and sweet game. Hopefully you enjoyed some of those attacking motifs, and if you play the dragon, hopefully you'll see some familiar territory there. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you're new around here, like the video if you learned something new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.